Beers and Banter, episode 39. We've got AJ Bronco and the Crab, part 2. Greatest board relay ever assembled. I reckon we'll talk a bit of footy tonight. Maybe a bit of life-saving again and just a general catch-up. Let's rip in. Lads, welcome back.
Thanks, Matty.
Yep, great to be back.
It's a good time of year for the sweaty box, actually. It's not too hot in here tonight. Apparently, coldest night of the year coming for us. So
that's what you want. You don't want to be sitting here.
October, it was a bit warmer.
Yeah, it was too.
Can you believe it's been 8 months since you blokes were in here?
No way.
Time flies, hey?
And what an 8 months for the world it's been.
Yeah, completely changed. Who would have predicted?
Country caught fire pretty much not long after you guys were here, probably.
Yep.
And then COVID, and then we're just turning crazy and trying to get back to a little bit of normality. The country is, and I don't know, it just keeps poking its head up. I'm hoping that they can give those small businesses a crack and just let them get into their
Back to routine, isn't
back
it?
to the routine.
Yeah.
What he's been up to? Did it affect you much?
Yeah, it did. Like in the electrical trade, it did slow up a little bit.
Yep.
I've taken 2 weeks off.
Yep.
Obviously spread out over the time, but yeah, our side of things definitely slowed up a bit.
Yeah, we haven't been too bad, but we're blessed, I guess, that we're in that situation. I think that's, across the board. So we're lucky. So, but no, it's been a weird thing. And as you said, there's no way we would have sat here in October last year and predicted this. And I think we forget too that we're in the middle of a really nasty drought at that point too.
Yeah.
We were talking about that, and then the fires hit, and
when the fires were going on, I was sitting there thinking, bloody, I bet you there's another story after this, and the media moves on, and we forget about all the people that are still battling. I didn't think it would be the biggest news story of the century though. It's been nothing like it I've seen in our lifetimes, obviously, but just and those poor buggers. There's still a lot of people living in tents and stuff down in Victoria and New South Wales, and what a year! I touch wood. I do feel lucky that I haven't been as affected as some of these other people. But
I agree.
It's brought you out of retirement.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Yeah.
You told us on the last pod you were done. 700 and zillion games of footy.
745.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you play any this year yet?
I played a trial match.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was right before that the COVID hit, and then they had just called off everything. Everyone, all groups of training, all groups of anything, social distancing came into effect, and that was it. So got a trial match in. Yeah, playing down at the Moolumbar.
So who are you playing against?
Mustangs.
Do you play against
Northern Rivers? So
Byron Bay. That's
Byron Bay. Coogin, Tweed Coast Raiders, Blamble.
Yeah, okay.
Ballina Seagulls.
That'd be a tough comp.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
And you're back training now, though?
Yep, we're back training.
Are you allowed to actually throw footies to each other yet?
Yeah, we're throwing footies and that.
Got gloves on though.
But we're not. We've got to when we get to training, sign in. Got to sign like a COVID logbook and no contact yet. So we're just
really no contact.
No.
And when are you starting to play games?
Are you allowed to do media? Should we black out your face?
I think the penciled in go ahead will be July 18.
So let me ask you this: as blokes who are semi-professional, I'll call you that. You're going to come back and play a contact sport, but you're only allowed to do your training contact for a week or two prior.
Yeah, that's going to. It's going to cause probably a few injuries. Just all the soft tissue injuries will go through the roof. Everyone will be. Yeah, this first couple of games there'll be some sore bodies.
And I'm surprised, like watching the NRL kick back off. I kind of expected that we'd get a, relative increase in injuries. I don't know whether there's any stats to back that up, but I think the fitness levels, there's a huge disparity between some teams. It's obvious to.
Well, there was a bit of talk on the weekend because Campbelltown produced some shocking injuries on the weekend, and they're all blaming the ground. But it was interesting talking. They talked to Daly Cherry Evans after the Manly game because they lost Travojevic, Walker. I think they lost someone else. Apologies, can't remember the name. But he said it's not the surface. He said it's fatigue. He said this game is so quick now that guys are cramping up left, right and centre, and it's the fatigue that's causing the injury. So maybe that's something, they talked about, there's people been talking about reducing interchange for years because they want the little guys to come back into the game. Well, they've done it this year, really, with that 6 again rule change.
Yep.
I was at the footy on the weekend with my young bloke, and he doesn't really watch a lot of footy, but it was a really good dad moment. He was asking me a lot of questions. But every time the ref calls 6 again, the stadium goes, bah! He's like, Dad, that's giving me a headache. Why don't they just give them 12 to start the Because every time the Titans got the ball, it was 6 again. Every time the Dragons got the ball, they'd get a 6 again in their set. And he was off it. He was like, that sounds driving me crazy, Dad. Why don't they just give them 12? But it's...
So you went out to the game?
Yeah.
How many spectators allowed?
2,000 at Suncorp it was.
Okay. Did they get the 2,000 out there?
I think it came up on the screen 1,970 or something like that. I think it's sold. They sold the 2,000, but just
not everyone turned up.
It was raining a bit prior to the game. It cleared up for the match, thankfully. It was a tough game to watch, to be fair. As a Titans fan, it was probably one of the worst games of football I've ever seen in my life, which was hard. I'd finally said to the young bloke, "You want to go to the footy?" Yeah. And I was surprised that he wanted to go to the footy. So I was like, "Oh, this will be good." And then, there was not a lot to be joyful about.
It's been a few years since.
I was a bit happier, not happier. I was less pissed off when I got home and found out that we'd lost 3 players during the game. And, there's some reffing decisions and they weren't great, but then they probably did well to hang on to 20-8, to be fair. Lost the brand new fullback 20 minutes into the game, lost another fullback, then lost another back. So you had second rowers playing on the wing and in the centres, and they had nothing in attack. So they probably did well to hang on to 20-8. But big game this week against the Broncos, who are out of form, and I really hope we don't play them back into form. It's
I think Broncos they'll be a lot more nervous than Titans. Titans are coming in with nothing to lose, and Broncos will be just. It's like that, the favourite going in, but they know that their confidence is so far down that they're coming into a team that's big brother, little brother, and it's a flip of the coin. This one.
Well, the Broncos have dropped. Is it Jermaine Asako?
Yeah,
they dropped him.
Yeah,
left Boyd and some of the other guys there. And the speculation was that they've done it as a power play because the young fullback they've brought in is also being chased by the Titans.
Yeah, okay.
Nui?
Yeah.
Nui?
Tessie Nui.
Tessie Nui?
Yeah.
Which...
he's a goal kicker as well, so...
a big call
to
player bloke just because you're trying to tie him up for another couple of years.
Yeah.
But,
same
also,
with Tommy.
Big talk today for Feta. 5 years, $5 million offer from the Titans. That'd be good for the Titans to get a player back because we cop a lot of shit on the Gold Coast about, nothing good comes out of the Gold Coast, and that's my personal crusade is that we're the sporting capital of Australia. It'd be good to get a lot of the talent back on the Gold Coast and show the country what we can do and show that this nursery, this rugby league nursery from Logan to Northern Rivers is must have an NRL team in the middle of it to maintain that nursery.
Let me ask, does he play 80 minutes?
Yeah, it would go close if he didn't.
Yeah.
I think he does. All back rowers these days play 80, I think.
Is he... there's talk that Mal's prepared to go to Tomalolo type deal to get him. I think the Titans really do need a Fafita as such. I don't know whether he has proved himself to be Tomalolo as far as... He's just set him like clockwork. Even the Cowboys lost on the weekend. They were down 34-0 at half time. He still racked up over 200 metres. That's Mr. Consistent.
Yeah.
And if you're getting $1 million a year, you need...
Every game like that.
I reckon him, Cooper Cronk, maybe the Trebojevic brothers, and maybe Teddy are the only ones worth $1 million a year in the comp right now.
I tend to agree. I think you got to compare apples with apples in a little bit when it comes to this. And I definitely wouldn't put him in the top 10 players, and that's probably the top 10 would be getting $1 million a year in my eyes.
It's like a curse. It's become the white boot curse, is getting $1 million a year for footy.
Well, they're giving that money on hope.
Potential.
Potential. Without proving that you're worth, that much money.
Yeah.
So, but, when a team's struggling, they have to, throw out that type of contract to get a player in which they're hoping, and if he keeps on going on the way that he's playing, he definitely could get there. But
it's just a risk for a club that's made a lot of bad recruitment decisions.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a huge risk in my eyes.
Yep.
I kind of feel like you could split that $1 million into 3 ways and probably get more bang for your buck.
Yeah. They do need a game breaker, though. They've got lots of toilers.
They do.
They need a game breaker.
They do. Is a back rower going to be a game breaker for you, or that person?
I don't believe they really want Tessie New. They've just signed Corey Thompson for 3 years as a fullback. You've got AJ Brimson, who should be the fullback when he comes back from injury. Do we need a third fullback on a 3-year deal? That was odd to me. Maybe we do, but when you've got Sammy that can play there if he needs to, I thought it was odd that they were chasing another young superstar at fullback. But they do need, we need game breakers. We do need someone that's going to blow it apart. I don't know how they pay that first $1 million next year, though, with some of the guys that still don't come off contract until 2021.
I don't know. I think with that Tessie New, or I think they'll be getting, because he must be on a base wage, and Titans wouldn't be offering him massive amounts, but they would be offering him, a starting spot in the 13 or starting in the 17 at least every week. That's how they'll pitch their sale, I think, where in the Broncos, you've got a lot of players and he's in a backlog of it. So I reckon that's I think base wage is $87,500. So maybe they might go, right, we'll give you $150.
Yeah.
Which is good money for his age, but it's not they're not paying massive amounts to get a player. I think they're just trying to get their what's it called? Insurance on outside backs locked up, and he's a good prospect, and it's not going to cost them that much.
Because next year you've still got on contract Shannon Boyd,
Cartwright another year.
Ash Taylor, Cartwright, and Peachy are all still there next year.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And they've got to be taken up. I'm not going to speculate on what people are making, but they're all those 4 guys are on pretty good coin. So how we give Fafita $1 million next year and retain. You've got Ryan James coming off contract this year. He's the heart and soul of that team, but has had 2 consecutive knee injuries. You got Kevin Proctor coming off contract, which I don't know. People seem to differ on this. I would say he's Mr. Consistent for that team. Week in, week out, he's given 100% effort.
And he's a Gold Coast junior.
Pete, who seems to be out of favour at the moment, is coming off contract this year. And then you got Copley, Tyrone Roberts, Sam Stone, and another young fella. That's what's coming off contract this year. If you go offering Fafita $1 million next year, you could lose some of the heart and soul guys that are actually the toilers that are putting in 100% effort every week. We could miss out on some of those to make way for that. And I don't know how that sits either.
That's Sam saying that's Rick's son.
I think it is.
Does he have 2 sons? Is there one at Newcastle, or is that Sam has come from Newcastle?
He came from Newcastle.
Because he looks like a bit of a weapon. He goes in hard.
He hasn't played this year, but...
Who's the guy with the leg tap?
You're going to have to be more specific.
I'm pretty sure that's... Yeah, I thought it was Sam Stone.
That's Joloff or something.
I thought it was, unless it's someone at Newcastle. That with the Stone last name.
What did you think of... last time you were on the pod, you were sceptical about the Titans just picking another coach, which, to be fair to him, had just won a Super League comp.
Yep.
And you'd wish the Titans had gone for a Walker Brothers combo.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the early? I know the Titans haven't performed well this year, but can you see any signs there that there's signs of life and signs of a new culture emerging?
No, I can't see anything different to what's happened when Cartwright was there. Who was the one that came after Cartwright? He only had a year.
Neil Henry.
Henry, and then
Garth Brennan.
Yeah.
I think it's too early. I think really with what's happened this year, you get a guy who's only just started it's just too early. I think the Suns are a good example of what potentially having a year under your belt can do as a coach. You look at what they're doing this year; they're just a different team. And he only had, I think, last year was his first year as full-time coach. So he's in his second year now.
That's pretty good then.
And they're on fire.
Yeah.
So, you'd hope that, this guy's obviously had a pretty interrupted start to his coaching career at the Titans. This year will be his foundation year. Next year, you'd probably expect to see something. Sorry, Matty, his head's dropped over there.
No, no one expected him to win the comp this year. I'd hoped we were going to win more games or be in more games than we've been in. I think they'll build as the year goes on. I've seen signs as a fan. We beat the Tigers, but being in a game up until the last 10 minutes is what I want to be. I don't want to be watching the footy and it's over at half time and then I'm kicking the dog for the next 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's no fun. But just touch on that, the Gold Coast Suns, the difference and where you get the talent coming through is the AFL draft. Where we don't have draft, we've got recruitment managers and that trying to poach players or trying to get them in. So it's hard when a team isn't going great to sign in good young players. But the other flip side is sign them in and say, look, you're going to get game time. And I guess that's the other side of the pitch, but so I don't see...
There's the haves and the have-nots in league at the moment. If you're Roosters, Broncos, or it used to be Broncos, but definitely Roosters, Melbourne, maybe Manly or Parramatta.
Roughly around there.
But it's definitely Roosters, Melbourne, and traditionally the Broncos. People will sign there for unders because they know they're playing finals. We don't get that luxury on the Gold Coast, and that is the best argument for a draft I've heard, is that we just never get a chance to get that next crop. But I do like the fact that this roster has got more Gold Coast talent in it than it's ever had. So that, the Gold Coast has always been a retirement spot for people. We've now got young guys there that have played their footy. It was a shame losing Jairo to the South. That was a bit of a kicker, but I reckon he'll come back. That's my hot tip. We'll get him back in his prime. He'll go to South for a couple of years and then we'll get him back.
3, I think he signed, didn't he?
3 or 4 years, yeah. Particularly if Wayne Bennett goes.
Yeah. He's mainly would have been going for the Godfather.
I know you're out there, Jai. I know you're coming back. What about Stephen Kearney getting dumped with all that's going on in the world? The NRL's asked the clubs to be lean and work off no excessive spending, and it looks like the Warriors are going to have to pay him out $1 million or something, and to put Todd Payton in, there's got to be more to that story.
I don't want to speculate, but you got to think there's more to it than what's scratching the surface.
Well, I've read allegedly they wanted to get rid of him last year.
Right.
And because of his management situation, and it's something we talk about on the pod, is that how much weight player managers have in the rugby league industry. Apparently, when the Warriors looked to move him on, the player manager said, if he goes, so do the 5 players that are signed with me. And that's when they extended Carney's contract. And now that player manager's been deregistered, the Warriors took their opportunity to move him on.
Okay. Well, my theory, I reckon,
here we go.
Warriors, they're a cuzzy bro footy team.
Yeah.
They're all about offloads. They're all about playing, off the cuff, deep from their own end. And where Kearney's come in...
Let us say cuzzy bro.
Yeah.
Politically correct.
When he went, obviously, Melbourne system, he was under Bellamy, and he's tried to bring that to Parramatta. Didn't work, Parramatta.
Well, he spent time with Wayne Bennett as well at the Broncos too, didn't he, Steve?
Yeah, that was after Para. And then I think the first few rounds of this year, they said the game plan, because obviously the way the rules changed, if we hold the ball, no passing, no offloads. They were gone from, I think they were second last year in offloads, to this year I think they were 15th in offloads, maybe even 16th. They were either last or second last. And it was purely, they said, if we don't make mistakes and then get another 6 again call, which will take us up to 8 or 10 tackles in the set. Eventually, we'll wear them down and win that way. But Warriors aren't a team like that. Warriors play the best footy.
Throwing it around.
Yeah, throwing it around. Fiji footy.
But I think a lot of the analysis has been is that they can't win a comp playing like that. They can win games, but they can't win the comp playing like that.
Mm.
And we spoke about it last time you guys were in because you know similar with the Walker brothers and their different style. Maybe they're the guys to go to New Zealand.
Well, yeah, their type is.
So you're saying they need a coach who resonates with the players?
Yeah, exactly. Why would you go to anywhere when, like, I don't know, like if you were coaching the Chicago Bulls in their prime, you got Jordan, but you don't use him as the main man. You start going, oh, hang on a sec, let's start giving it to this bloke over here because, Jordan. So that's your game plan is Jordan. Warriors, they're all about throwing the ball around. So they need a coach to come in and go, right, I'm not going to try and coach like every other team or, the other 12 other teams that go, right, let's just percentage. I reckon the Warriors need a coach to come in and go, right, this is what we're going to go. Let's do lots of skills training, get our ball handling right up there.
Yeah.
Ball control, so you can get the late offloads like how Fletty Mateo, Chris Nunu used to do that at Parramatta when they'd done that run in 2009.
Mm.
If they get their whole team with good skills and doing all that, they should be in the top 8 every year. Sole team from New Zealand.
Yeah, they definitely should because they got the pick of the rugby league talent in New Zealand. Should be able to poach a couple of rugby union players along the way. That they should be doing a lot better. I guess I was listening to a discussion about them last night though that they need to be able to get into the grind when it's required though. Like they're not going to be able to throw the ball around every game.
And obviously in the last 10 minutes, if the game's on the line,
yeah,
that's why you still need a solid 7, 6, 9, and 1 to go. Hang on a sec, but they got that with Roger.
Mm.
He could easily just come in and go and being captain. 10 minutes game's on the line. You're not offloading 10 metres out from your own line when you've just tackled a full set of 6 and the ball comes down.
Yeah.
But throughout the game, definitely in the first, 20, 25, 30 minutes of each half, that's when you start, or I believe anyway.
So while we're on coaching, it's something I had written down. And Cliffy's not here; he's running late. Sorry, folks. But the three of you are all coaching in some capacity, or you've done a lot of coaching. Phil, AJ, you're coaching this year at surf club level, and I know Cliffy is too. How different do you need to communicate with a millennial or a Gen? No, they're not Gen Y. They're millennials or digital natives. How have you got to communicate with them differently to how it would have been delivered to us back when we were kids?
I think the difference now is that you have to resonate with them in some way. And I think that's the challenge now as a coach is you need to find, focus on the individual and find something that resonates with them and find that little switch that just clicks in their head to say, right, I need to commit and focus my attention now to what this coach is saying.
Yeah.
Whereas previously, I think when we grew up, when we were sort of in that primitive years of our sport, we probably were under the rule of rule of the iron fist. This is how you do it, and you got to work hard, and this is the only way to do it.
There's two options: my way or
100%
somewhere else.
Yeah, so I think it's probably flipped a little bit on its head now, and we're kind of appeasing the individual a little bit more than what we used to.
Yeah.
I certainly haven't done a great deal of coaching to this point, but hoping to do a little bit more. Phil obviously has coached. Footy side, and you would have had a spectrum of age groups between sort of 18-year-olds and sort of 35-year-olds, and there's a generational gap almost in that.
Well, even trickier for you, Phil, you've been captain coach. Yeah. How do you be one of the lads? Yes, please. How do you be one of the lads and the disciplinarian as the coach?
If we train from 6 or 7:30, obviously,
cheers.
Half an hour before training, you chatting away at their run, having keeping everything all, calm and happy and all that. But then obviously about 1:45 and setting up drills and all that, then that's when you step away from being everyone's mates and you're still their player as well. You're still part of the playing group. But that's how I, worked it. And I found coaching, you can't stain everyone with the same brush. You can't, there's so many different personalities and it's basically you're man managing each different player. What works speaking to you, Matty, won't work the same speaking to AJ. So at half time, you just can't come in and go, rant and rave and like that because some people don't accept that, or don't, relate to that.
Get any hospital balls on a Saturday because you made them do too much running on a Thursday, or what?
Yeah, we just got to cop it.
We played footy together.
Yeah.
Right. And my dad was coach back then.
Yeah.
So he
Johnny Jeffries.
He'd be the one to ask this question. But between the three of us, if you had to sort of work out what makes each of us tick, it's not the same thing.
No, that's right.
And I guess as a quality of a good coach would have been to know what to say to that individual
exactly
to get the best out of them. And like me and you, Matty, we'd have different things.
Yeah.
If my old man had to come in and given you a revving rummage, you probably would have gone and buggered off. That's not the way that I don't think you would respond. You know what I mean? Like you're more just saying something really, specific, not yelling and not carrying on. Like
think about some of the personalities he had to deal with in our team.
We could talk about some classics. You know,
Ryan Kopic, just like Tassie Devil, just wind him up and let him go. You got Turbs, and then you got Sammy. You got to try and keep him
calm,
keep the lid on.
Dawsey,
Lackey.
They should have worked out to just don't make me warm up. I'm just expending energy that I haven't got. Always saw warming up as a waste.
That's another thing that I found as well. Some players just hated warming up, but
I'd always try and be the last one strapped.
Yeah, that's what players do. You always find the players that hate warming up are always the last ones out of the sheds. And then they're out of the sheds like, my strapping's too tight. I'll go back in and
lads, you strapped the wrong shoulder.
Yeah, go back in. And then they come out and they do like a 10-minute warm-up where normally you work off in between 25 and 30-minute warm-up.
Hey, it's 21 years this year since our under-14 grand final win.
Yeah, right.
Wow. That's
just to make you feel old there for a sec.
No, 22. 22 this year.
Who'd we beat in that one?
We're 36 this year.
Roosters.
Burrell.
Narang Roosters.
Narang in under 14s.
Yep. Hey?
We're 36 this year.
I keep thinking I'm 35. It is 22 years. That's makes me want to vomit. It was Narang Roosters. So I had Matty King in that side. And then under 15s, I think it was Balamble. Under 16s, I think it was Balamble.
No, 16. What was the game we played at Southport Tigers? That was against Narang again.
Yeah, no, that was the first one. That was under 14s.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
14.
Yeah.
And Benny Hannett scored at half time when I kicked the goal and it hit the upright.
Yeah.
And he scored.
It's because is it Tory Hipperson?
Yeah.
Or Troy? Tory?
No, Tory. Yeah.
He got laid out. And I remember standing over top of him and just like, don't move. Next one. Yeah, and Benny caught the
Yeah, because everyone else just stopped. Even them, they just went like this, just looked at it, and then
Turbo dropped Matty King on his head and got sent off. I'm pretty sure too.
That was at
Yeah,
Southport.
good memory. I tell you that.
I can remember stuff back then. I can't remember what I did last week.
So 14. Then where was 15's grand final at? Burleigh?
Chugan.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Chugan.
Yep.
Then 16's was at
Burleigh.
Yep.
And then Parkwood. But you might have deserted us by
17's I went. Yep, I left.
Dirty trader.
And then
back to Chugan.
Then we beat you in 18's.
I wasn't going to bring that one up.
So Burleigh would have been going for, is that 5 straight?
Yeah.
Got pipped.
Yeah. Rob, the Choppy Close coach. Shout out Choppy. He's just moved up to Harvey Bay.
He has too. Good old Chop. Legend of a bloke.
Hey,
True Queenslander too. Jersey ripped off, fighting.
He is one of the greats.
He's Mr. Maroon.
Last time we were on the pod, we were talking about, where did lifesaving go wrong? And it was interesting. I had Courtney Atkinson, who came up on our pod, as someone that you blokes looked up to when we were younger. It was interesting talking to him about what drew him to triathlon versus, he was obviously pretty handy at Surf Lifesaving as well. He said his school had a lot to do with that. But then obviously the fact that, triathlon being a world sport and, just that bigger sport. something I noticed over the summer since we did our pod, there was a Nutri-Grain event on the Gold Coast, and we had a Nipper Carnival the same day. And I just saw that as the biggest missed opportunity. You know, it's like
The logistics is just who's
it's like playing it like
yeah, exactly.
because we were coming back from I think it was maybe Coolangatta, and I've driven past Burleigh, and I've gone, oh, there's a carnival. The Nutri-Grain's on. There was no way I was stopping in. I'd been on the beach since 7:30, 8 o'clock. There was no way I was stopping in with my kids to have a look. But it's like, how that's not. I know that Nutri-Grain's its own thing and Surf Lifesaving's its own thing, but I feel like there's some sort of synergies there. How that's not the grandest event for the Gold Coast Surf Lifesaving of that weekend. There should be no other Nipper activities that weekend, and it should be bring your kids down to the carnival.
Yep.
There should be a march past or something, you know, like there should be some way to represent your club and you know cheer on the best in the country. Like it just seemed so odd that we'd been at a Nipper carnival yet there was Nutri-Grain on up the road. I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows about that?
I don't know. I'm just it could be a tough year for you know. It's been tough already. Could be a tough year. I don't know did you Blokes read that article? There's a bit of athlete movement in the surf club world.
Yeah, we saw that.
Cash Cliff at it again. But can you blame them?
No,
it's going to be a lean year. And if Northcliffe have got the money and have got the ability to be honest, they could be doing the sport a favour by paying some of those athletes to keep them in the sport, because if everyone stays at their club for loyalty but has to go and get a day job, the product's not going to be as good.
Well, that's what I was thinking about that earlier. But you know, the product might not be as good. But you know, to the contrary to that idea is to the general consumer of the sport. Do the athletes need to be professional for the end result to be the same?
The end consumer wouldn't know the difference.
Exactly
probably.
right. Okay, so that's what it's an interesting point, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be professional, and they shouldn't. You know, the amount of hours that they put in to be professionals and the best at their game, they need to be paid well and full time. I 100% agree with that.
I've always thought Surf Lifesaving athletes were more professional than footy players, and they didn't get paid.
Yep.
I remember you blokes being off the grog from like New Year's, like through to allegedly off the grog, you know, for 4 months leading into Aussies.
Yeah.
That was only to make Mad Monday good more fun.
Can you imagine telling a footy player you cannot drink for 4 months on $1 million a year and telling him you can't drink for 4 months?
Yeah.
I reckon there'd be some clubs that'd do it. Like if they all had a pact and went, we're doing this, we're winning the GF this year and this is how we're going to do it. There's no way, because I know how good my body feels when I'm not drinking. Shout out to my doctor, told me I need to drink less on Friday.
Is he a listener?
I bought a home brew kit same day.
After leaving straight away.
I actually bought it before, so it was a bit shit timing. But I know how much better my body feels when I'm off the beers for a few days.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that if a player's trying to rehab an injury that they shouldn't be just off the grog, just eating so good. And that's something maybe I'm completely oblivious, and maybe the NRL clubs are doing it. But if I was running an NRL club, I'd have a meal service for the top 30. They'd be eating what I want them to eat.
Well, they do. The only meal they don't eat at the club is dinner.
Yeah,
Everything else is
there you go.
provided.
I didn't know that.
Like you go, there's a table like this or longer, and it's just, you know, sports drinks, or like not sports drinks, but they're protein shakes, they're
We're back on footy.
hydrolytes and all that. But they got, you know, because they're there. It's a normal job for them. They're there at 7, 8 a.m. and they're there until
5.
3, 4:30, 5, and they get obviously they got meals and that. And
but back to what you're saying, I think they've always been a ridiculously professional sport for what is majority amateur people, and not amateur in skill, amateur in the purest sense of the form that they're just doing it for the love of the sport. And maybe that's just a culture thing, because whether it's triathlon or running or bike riding or, you know, a lot of those endurance type events, I guess you just need to be disciplined with what you're putting in your body, otherwise it's all going to come undone.
I think it also attracts a certain individual, and that individual wants to be the fittest and the best. It's not necessarily the paycheck at the end of it too. So I kind of get on, and probably
You don't do Kona for the paycheck. You do it
No,
for the
that's it.
fact that you can, when you're 85 and you're having your last breath, you can just go, I did that.
Probably another example
true.
that would be the majority of Olympic sports. The best of the best wouldn't
paid
be the
nothing,
highest paid, and they're not certainly the Olympics. You're not allowed to be professional in some sports like soccer to compete in it. So,
Boxing.
Which is weird.
Yeah,
you can have the dream
boxing.
team there, but you can't have the best soccer players.
It's odd. It really is. But I guess that, I'm thinking specifically about what people we know is probably the kayakers, is that a lot of them are from the Gold Coast and certainly,
Sporting capital of Australia.
Yeah, sporting capital. But they go to the Olympics and, yes, certainly I'm sure that they're paid a salary by the AAS, but they're certainly not making, rugby league type contracts getting sent their way.
I always thought that once you won a gold medal for Australia, you were set for life. And then until I was working with a bloke that had won multiple gold medals with it, playing hockey for Australia.
Oh, really?
And then I realised, so that they're just battlers like everyone else. Like they've still got to do their day thing. Like, and it's probably only the real cream that win an individual gold medal. But then this is how for some reason I thought you got a big chunk of cash for winning a gold medal for Australia as a kid. It wasn't until I grew up a little bit and was like, you don't just like get set for life for winning a gold medal. But I think you've got to win multiple gold, and then you've got to be marketable. You've got to be able to then go and sell yourself, and that's where the money is. The money's not being the athlete; it's being the brand.
I think the Ian Thorpes and the Grant Hackett's of the world. They're certainly probably okay.
Yeah,
but
doing all right.
You flick to the Michael Diamonds, the people that have won gold medals that we don't really follow their sports, regularly. I think it's hard for them.
Surely he's on the cover of Shooters Mag or Hunters and Fishers or
But
but they should be. Like I don't know. Are you set for life if you win one for China?
Don't know. Maybe Russia might pay him massive money too. Because
what about old mate? They've just chewed him up and spat him out. And Mac Horton's now they've all apologising to Mac Horton. China's like
1,500. Yeah.
What? So weird.
400.
I really feel sorry for anyone that was training for this year's Olympics. There's lots of hardship this year, and that's probably the least of the world's worries is the Olympians. But can you imagine if you were from the age of 10, 12, maybe 13, that you've been priming yourself for the Tokyo Olympics, and then it gets cancelled or pushed back a year. So potentially, if you were tapering in, maybe they've had enough time that they weren't tapering for anything because it all started to break out in January. But
I certainly think some sports would have picked their Australian teams and others hadn't had their trials yet. I know that swimming never got around to their trials.
Cliffy's just texted me he's not going to make it, unfortunately, so we'll get him on the pod again soon. But he said to me the other day, it'd be worse if you were going to retire at this year's Olympics.
Yeah, true.
And next minute it doesn't happen. Yeah, you got two options, and again, if it's not your bread and butter, and you've got to put your career off, your actual income off for another 12 months, or do you pull the pin and you miss out on that Olympics that you're going to?
I guess it depends on your circumstances, right? Like, let's hope it's going to be on next year.
They don't even know.
Yeah, but we don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty around it. It would be very, very hard. Very hard, especially emotionally.
They're going to need every country to be clear of the virus for them to run it.
Or they have everyone's in Japan a month before.
Oh, yeah, I guess,
like
they
that.
could. They certainly could do that,
Yeah.
All the tennis players have got it.
Yeah, that tournament.
Yeah.
So there's blokes that said, they shouldn't run the US Open. Djokovic saying that they shouldn't run the US Open and now went to a thing, dancing in a nightclub, no mask, nothing, the whole works. Now they're all testing positive. When Nick Kyrgios is the voice of reason, and those blokes need to give themselves some uppercuts.
Yeah, it makes him look like a...
Well, he's been saying, he's like, there's more to life than going to play in the US Open. Yeah. Crazy. My rugby proposal's looking real good from the last pod. I talked about the fact that the two
merging
league and union should come together and create what would be the greatest sport in the world. It would rival soccer. It would penetrate North America as a sport. something obviously that we've done a little bit lately because they've got no sports going on other than UFC. Rugby Australia's on its knees. My proposal from October is looking real good right now.
So you're talking only in Australia though? You're talking Australia, New Zealand, or
I think that's where it starts. But then everyone realises, we
brands,
need to all smoke the peace pipe, get over it. It's been 100 years. We're all getting paid now anyway. Rugby's trying to turn itself into rugby league anyway to make their product more palatable to consumers.
Yeah, true.
Just imagine the real estate they'd own, the resources they'd have, the talent pool.
Won't happen.
It'll never happen.
There's too much old money in rugby union, and they're too proud of it, so they won't stand for it.
No.
Because it'd be league buying union.
Yeah,
is what had happened at the moment.
It won't happen.
What about a hostile takeover? That could happen.
But what are they buying? They don't have anything. The union.
Well, that's what I mean. They could just get them cheap.
Have they got
Now's the
TV
time.
rights? Do they have TV rights?
I don't even know if they've got a deal at the moment.
Hasn't gone
They
through.
don't have a product.
Poor buggers. The Kiwis would be the ones you'd have to convince that.
And I say this not as a rugby union hater, but as an oval football lover. I want rugby league to be a world sport. And I think if they join forces, join resources, put Peter V'landys at the top of the tree, this world domination. There's talk the NRL could buy Super League.
Wow. As in
the
Northern
UK,
Hemisphere.
The UK rugby league, yeah.
Yeah, wow. But isn't he a bit of a winner, that V'landys? He's just...
What a story. I'd never heard of him.
Yeah, yeah. But when you look into what his resume speaks of, he was the head of, I think he still is, at Racing New South Wales, or chairman or whatever he was. But
he knows how to how to run something.
Absolutely. But he took on the Victorian Racing Club, right, with the Sydney Carnival that he came out with, and the championships that they've now built. That wasn't there 4 or 5 years ago, so he just went, bugger it. We're just going to set this up. It's going to be a winner. We're going to get all this prize money, and now it's huge. It rivals the Melbourne Racing Carnival,
and knows how to navigate a crisis too, because they had the Hendra virus, which threatened to shut down racing. And there was one industry that just didn't even skip a beat through all this, and that was horse racing.
Yeah, true.
My only criticism of Peter V'landys, and it's probably it's not that big a deal, is that I think he does need to realise that when he's got his horse racing, it's him versus Victoria. But when he's got his National Rugby League hat on, that's a national role. That's the Australian Rugby League Commission. So it's not us versus them. It's not New South Wales versus Queensland. It's not New South Wales versus Victoria.
Yeah.
He needs to be looking at
the whole body,
holistic.
Yeah,
That's my only thing. But mate, he's a god. Everybody loves him.
You reckon he's listening?
Probably. How could he not be?
Take note.
Well, he's coming in and he's making the hard decisions.
Come on the pod, Pete.
But all his decisions he's made, everyone's been like, mate, that's exactly, it's turned out.
Dictator.
Yeah, but that's how everyone's like, it's worked. It's worked.
I think he's got rugby league DNA. Western Sydney, grew up playing it.
Yeah.
I think we've had some administrators in the recent past that
on the gravy train for sure
haven't necessarily had that same connection to the game, maybe, or I don't know.
He got stuff
He's
done.
obviously a people person. Either that or he's got pictures of some people high up in government.
He's connected. I think he's well connected.
Whatever he's doing, it's working for him.
Yep.
How good was it, Butter? No sport for what, 2-3 months in total?
Yep.
And then
about 11 weeks.
Yeah, and then he got straight on rugby league back into it, and wasn't that a breath of fresh air for you Saturday afternoon?
Do you know what the problem was, though? I think the pie I ate at the footy on Saturday had been sitting in the warmer since the last game.
No good.
I was crook of the guts all night Saturday night. So anyone that follows us on social and saw me post a picture of a pie and a beer and, that Instagram life, and life's always better on social media. Yeah, I didn't share the details of the prevailing 12 to 24 hours after that. I was sus on the hot dog that my young bloke had, and I was like, oh, this could be dangerous. But it was me. I copped it. He was fine.
Wasn't the 4X gold?
Oh, it could have been. It could have been off. But no, there was definitely a distinct, when I got to the Bay Marie, I was like, oh, this is it. They had a very, restricted menu at the footy on the weekend.
Yeah, right. So they still give the beers in plastic cups, or are you allowed to have cans?
No, cups.
Cups, yeah.
Yeah, why don't they just...
Give the cans.
Too much waste. I don't know. the only thing that was good for that break is all the docos that come out while we were all in lockdown. I've people on the pod probably that listen to the pod would be sick of me talking to them, but all of the guys that we wanted at our virtual barbecue that released docs, you had Slater release the Momentum Generation, the Michael Jordan one, Lance. I watched the other one, Bruce Lee. I watched Be Water the other night.
Oh, yeah?
Heard about that.
So I was going to ask you, blokes, because I want to make some changes to my lineup.
What about the Tiger King? You would have watched that.
Oh my God!
Carol Baskin.
You seen that, AJ?
Yeah, I couldn't watch it all.
I was going to say that's not AJ's type. He's not going to sit there and watch that shit.
It's entertainment, and that was basically about it.
What do you reckon, Phil? Did Carol kill her husband?
Oh, 100% she did. 100%.
I reckon he's living in Puerto Rico. That was my hot tip.
No way.
Yeah.
Why would he leave her?
Literally owned a plane.
Zillions.
Was a pilot.
Yeah, why would he leave her zillions though?
I don't know.
When
The travesty there is that she now owns the
Exactly.
Tiger King's park.
and he told was it his sister and his mum or his sister and his ex-wife? They come on at the end and said they told
that was his
them if
daughters.
something happens, it's
they
because she's
they just seemed salty that Carol got all the money.
yeah. Well, there's obviously three sides of the story: her side, his side, and the truth. So
Yeah, he did like to go to Puerto Rico. He did have a plane. The plane was never found. Yeah, and he could have just been a deviant, allegedly. So my question is: any changes to your barbecue starting four?
yeah, well, I would definitely can't believe I left him out, but Wayne Bennett would definitely get a start
Oh, Bennett.
in mine.
What about the circus that surrounds Wayne Bennett? Just always, he's still got 18 months left on a contract at South,
Yeah, I know.
and the media is just determined to find out where he's going next. And I saw him blowing up today, just like, just
Yeah.
let me do my job.
Yeah. But
This is
generally, what's the general rule? Where there's smoke, there's fire. So there must be a story
He's
there.
been linked to 4 different clubs.
Yeah.
Bro.
So
He's going to the Warriors. Next minute, he's coaching the Bulldogs.
No doubt there's people chasing him. That's just the way it is, right?
but if it's still lingering, there must be something there. You know, he just wants to shut it down and keep on going with, you know, coaching Southsky. He doesn't want a distraction. You know, you're coaching an NRL side and, you know, professional sport. But if there's got to be something there, and to Wayne Bennett's, you know, to his credit, he's obviously hosing down the best way he knows. And
I think why there's speculation is that South's succession plan is Demetrio that's there. So that's the plan. So I think the thinking maybe is that if Wayne departs early, it's no big deal. But he's saying today that he's staying there. He's got a job to do. Let him do the job. So much speculation. I feel I wouldn't be a coach for quids. Like the only good thing, if I was Stephen Kearney now and I'm now getting $1 million, I'm just like, you.
yeah, exactly. You invest that correctly, that will get you through another few more years.
But who'd be a coach? Like there's no
Nowhere to
longevity
hide,
there.
is there? Nowhere to hide.
I don't know enough about it, so we'll have to wait till Cliffy's back. We'll do this again. But apparently there's a bit of coaching movements on the surf club stuff. But Paul Green is now being linked with his old team, the Sharks. What do you think of that, AJ?
Oh, you're a Sharky fan. What's
Yeah.
you would know the intel?
What do you think, Johnny? Do you think John Morris has? We were talking about being one of the boys and then being the coach.
Yep.
Do you reckon he's got the ability to transition and be the coach?
I think no. I think now we know that hasn't been successful. I think we need to move on with that.
Big-
Yeah, I do think he's an issue.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They just can't start, the Sharks.
You think
he,
Flanagan was a real iron fist kind of bloke?
he just got guys moving, you know, and they got a lot of talent in that team, but they just can't get in the right headspace to start games well. They always let, you know, 1 or 2 tries in before they get into gear, and they can't. And they often lose by between 6 and 12 points week to week.
Yeah.
So they've got to really improve that. And I think that has to be a coaching error. You can't get your starting team to execute properly in the first 10, 15 minutes. It's not because you're not skilled or you're not fit enough. It's because your head's not in the game. That's my opinion on it.
There's got to be a talent to that because it's something the Titans have battled with. Even now that they're hanging in a game, they're still letting.
You just
Like
can't.
there was good signs on the weekend. They marched straight up the field, penalty, 2 points. And I was like, oh, it's the best start to a footy game we've had in yonks. And then we let 20 points in, 18 points in. I was like, oh God, what happened there?
Yeah.
But you're right. Like some teams just come out and boom, game on. Whereas,
Yep.
yeah,
So I think that's a coaching piece. I really do think it's part of it. Your side drops away in the last 20 of a game, you can start to put fatigue down as a factor there.
Yeah.
They start dropping balls and doing silly things late in the game. You can attribute that, but I don't think a poor start is, something that you can't let it happen. And I also think that it's got to be a coaching or player management issue.
Or preparation.
He was really thrown.
Something they're doing at training, they need to, I guess, maybe adjust and just change something there, or change the preparation to just trying to get the mind a little bit more, on point right from the start, instead of waiting for a try or 2 tries to come in and then they're all getting a kick in the backside behind the line, and that's like right, and then that's when they kick into gear. So I reckon it's something to do with either probably preparation. They need to change something up there, change the warm up, or change the maybe come out for a shorter warm up so they're a bit more energetic. They might be doing too long a warm up, which they might be there, and then by the time they come down back into the sheds and then get ready, they're kind of dropping off, being a bit flat.
So good point. I think it's really hard for a player to go stay at the same club and then merge into a coaching role.
Yeah.
I think you can go away and learn new tricks and get experience and, take a break from that environment and then come back and be successful. I wouldn't think of many examples where a player's gone from being in the playing group to transition through the staff into the coaching role and been successful.
He was probably very early, even in his assistant coaching career.
He was straight away from finishing.
There's no way that was the plan, was for him to be head coach.
No.
Yeah.
He's probably got himself some breathing room after they won on the weekend, but
that was a terrible win.
Who do you think the Shark is? Like Paul Green, flat out on Monday night said, no, that it's not been a discussion for him to be going to Cronulla. So does that mean it's a done deal? Or
yeah, because they can't say no, but they're going, aren't they?
But what would make the Sharks go? This is what I always can never work out. Like, he's lost that dressing room, but he can walk into that one and make a difference. Is that just because you just get stale, or just the ideas run out, or?
I think it comes back to what we were talking about before, is that you just got to know how to flick that switch with people.
Yeah.
And if you're a friend of theirs, I think it's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
I think you have to come from a level of, having more authority and respect versus being a mate to be able to get the best out of a player. As a coach, I think it's kind of the trick to it.
So you reckon Greeny'd go all right at Sharks? Or who if you're a Sharks fan, Perth Sharks, who's going to be coaching them?
Perth Sharks. I don't know. Like, who knows, mate? I think there's more issues at the club than what that is. I think, the playing group have to have a look at themselves. As with any unsuccessful team, it's multifactorial. I don't think you can pigeonhole one person to blame with it. But I think a new coach, and I definitely think that there's some big shoes to fill with retirements as well. I think.
Their pin-up boy,
Johnson.
Should we? No, what's his name? Bronson Cherry.
Oh, okay, yeah.
What's doing where you got? They talk about the club had nothing to do with it. That's a culture thing, though, right? If you've not got that young kid under someone's wing, just like making him make good decisions with his life.
Yeah, but
or not? Is that a family thing? Do you think? Like what?
So apparently, family thing. Young kids can make poor errors of judgment
after everything that Cronulla's been through.
And I think because they've been through that, you'd expect that the playing group would be more vigilant than normal. That's my argument. So I think this is I sound like a really one-eyed Cronulla supporter here, but
we don't expect anything else. I don't know. That's what I got you here for.
It's like McMahon with the Broncos.
I think, given what the club's been through, I think it'd be really, really, really stupid for them to think they could get away with something like that again. I think this has to be an outlier in the group that's gone and done something silly. But to the guy's discredit, he had a lot to live up to. He's going to be a very good player.
So what has it come out like?
I haven't heard anything since, but I think,
pretty much the B sample. I didn't realise this. The B sample's not that they think that it's going to be any different result. The B sample is to prove to the athlete, this is your sample. Here's us cracking the seal. Here's us testing it. Here's it getting the same result. so that it's not like it's going
No.
to. It's purely a procedural thing that it's.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's been a case where the B sample tests negative and the A sample was positive. It's literally, this is your sample because I don't know they must cite it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's purely a procedural thing to prove that this is your sample. You've tested positive and game over.
Yeah.
I know you're under the pump for time, AJ.
That's all right.
Any change to your barbecue lineup?
Oh, who was it? Kelly,
You were Kelly,
MJ,
Costa?
I probably flicked Costa out. I don't know who I put back in.
Did you have Pele? Or was that in Cliffy's?
No, it was
No, it was
Cliffy's, I
Cliffy's.
think. Yeah.
I had like a 14 long list.
We can roast him too. He's not coming, so give it to him.
He was going to go part 2 on his list tonight.
Yeah,
I think.
well, we're now going to have to go part 3 because he got trapped in the COVID lineup coming back into the state today.
Oh,
How good's that for small?
In.
How good's that for small business? Having to be stuck in traffic for like an hour or two.
Yeah.
I feel like our premier's done a pretty good job, but like that's got to be killing some small businesses. If he's paying blokes to sit in the passenger seat to cross that border, that's not good. It's not good for anybody. But who was it? Who'd you got?
Oh,
AJ?
you put me on the spot here. I don't know. I'm pretty happy.
If you were
who I've
happy
got
with your
there.
lineup, that's okay.
Yeah.
I've changed mine because I said
So what
you guys put me on the spot, and I went Joe Rogan, Alfie Langer, Jesus, and me brother. I'm going to swap a couple out because I feel like I've got a bit of flexibility. I think I'm going to keep Rogan. I got some stuff to talk to him about. I'm going to go Bruce Lee, Be Water, my friends, Be Water. Throwing Daniel Ricciardo in there. Just, I reckon he's about as. I think he's Australia's highest profile athlete right now. I think
On a world stage.
on the world stage, I think he's the biggest. I don't know what. I'd love this. I think I'd be probably out of him or Adam Scott maybe, as like profile wise, because I know Ricciardo gets reach into America, and then I'll stick with me brother because he's cooking. But that's I've been thinking about it.
A lot.
Sorry, Jesus, you got the punt, mate.
Deserved, though.
He'll be back.
He's a
He'll
good
be back.
bloke. He'll understand. He'll get it. It'll be all right. He could get a run in part 3. I don't know. On that note, we'll leave some chat for part 3. I want to give a shout out to Troy Stickers Stickland. You've won the Beers and Banter show bag that we've been giving away on social media. Shout out to Gripstar Socks. They are great supporters of the pod for all your sock needs. They've become my everyday sock.
Yeah.
Grip socks.
You run that
They're
quick
good.
around the house.
Do you know what they do? They stop my work shoes from squeaking. They're good. Whether it's golf, footy, soccer, anything, netball, whatever you're doing, get some Gripstar socks. Socials, follow us at Beers and Banter on all the social platforms. Please do us a huge favour. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. If you think we're full of shit, tell us all about it right below. Gents, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it. And anytime, I think we're going to have to do part 3 because the crab didn't turn up. So cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Talk to you
guys.
soon.
Thank you.
Cheers, boys.